The story of Florence Nightingale. The value of compassion. Florence Nightingale was named after her birthplace, Florence, Italy. When almost a year old, she returned with her family to England. Their house was always full of friends and family. Florence would look after her child by inventing games and making sure they didn't get hurt. She also did whatever she could do to help injured horses or sick camels. She cared for wounded birds until they can manage themselves. Her father reminded her not to let her compassionate heart make her forget about her lesson. Florence often helped her mother deliver food to the poor around their estate. Her heart acts at in which some of them lived. When she gets older, the misery in which some of them lived. When she gets older, she visits them on her own, especially the sick. She wanted to make them well, so Florence decided to become a nurse. Her family was shocked because nursing was not an respected profession. But Florence was determined and started book on medicine. One day, she persuaded a doctor to show her around a London hospital. She was shocked at the dirty and uncared for patients, the filthy wards and beds and the rest. Florence vowed to change all of this. Florence knew she has much to learn about nursing, so she visits the hospital in France, Germany, and Ireland, and learned everything she could do. When returned home, she was an expert on hospital management. In 1853, Florence agreed to take over a small London hospital. Her biggest problem was finding good trained nurses, so she decided to train them herself. Soon, people began study her methods of nursing, sanitation, and hospital organization. About a year later, Britain became involved in a war against Russia. London's newspaper was full of the story about the terrible condition injured and sick soldiers were suffering. Sidney Herbert, the Secretary of War, asked Florence to help care for injured and sick. Needless to say, Florence agreed to go. When Florence and nurses arrived at the England hospital in Scutari, in modern-day Istanbul, they were horrified. This hospital laid men lying on the floor and the rest were running everywhere. There is no running water and no heat. Many soldiers died before receiving help. In spite of the shortage of staff, doctors wouldn't listen to her. They didn't like the idea of the women in army hospital until one day 5 unexpected casualties arrived. Doctors soon realized that Florence knew what she was doing. She'd made changes arranged for better sanitation. Above all, Florence made sure these men were washed and their injured were cared for. Every night, she would walk through the walls with her lamp. Reporters, including famous London Times journalist William Howard Russell, sometimes stopped at Scutari. His story made Florence famous throughout England. One day, Florence crossed the sea to war-torn Crimea. While there, she became very ill, close to death. As the news spread, British soldiers everywhere would pray for her recovery. When finally her fever broke, when she strong enough, Florence back to work. After war, she returned home. Florence's shock was astonished that people recognized her. A fund had even been set up in her honor. She
或
had
者是 honor。
Many of the soldiers she had nursed had made contribution. Now she could set up the Nightingale Training School in London. After years of hard work, Florence Nightingale saw army barracks were less crowded and the soldiers' health improved. The hospital became clean and cheerful. Nursing became a respected profession. All of this is because of the compassion of the lady with the lamp.
好，